coming today. I am very excited to be here for the first time. Today, I will talk about what's happening in e-commerce in India and what we are doing at Flipkart. Towards the end, I'll also talk a little bit about how we are looking at partnerships in the space, and for some of you that may be relevant, I'll spend a couple of minutes on that topic as well. So first, a little bit about online shopping. What is happening in this space? How we at Flipkart look at this space? You heard a version of that from certain experts in the morning. We have our own view. We are actually a bit more optimistic than what most experts are, and we have been actually. If you look at in the past, I remember one of the sessions in Mumbai itself back in 2011 when I was visiting for a Thai event. This is the Indus entrepreneurs, and on one of the sessions, Mr. Kishore Biani and I were there, and of course I was like overawed by him at that time. We were really small, and he asked me, when will India see a billion-dollar e-commerce company? And I told him like really a little bit. There was a hint of a little bit of arrogance and over-optimism, where I said that give us 4 years and we'll show you. And but I think and even then most people thought that our ambitions were big, but it turned out that they were not. I mean, they were actually what happened is actually much bigger than what all of us had imagined. So this is what we see today. We believe that online shoppers today are close to about 15% or 10 to 15% of all internet users in India. We believe that will reach about 36% by 2020. This number is still still behind where China is today or where US is today. US, this is more than 50%. China is about 40% today. So India is actually a few years behind both the markets. This is an interesting stat. They believe that 80% of internet users in India will access internet only from smartphone. And but about the rest 20%, they will also spend a lot of time on smartphones. I mean, even today, right, it's hard to imagine someone who has a desktop and a laptop but does not have a smartphone. It's like, what does that person even look like? We don't even know, right? So in the future also that will happen. We believe that today the stats are that the smartphone, people who have a smartphone, they spend about 1.5 times the time that is spent on desktop per user. And if you put that together, we believe that the overall more than 90% of internet usage in India will be through smartphones. So desktop and laptops are becoming more and more irrelevant as we go forward. This is also something that we believe that India's internet market overall will become about 137 billion, and e-commerce contribution will be about 74% of that. Now this is, which means that we are projecting India's e-commerce size to be more than 100 billion by 2020, which is double of what I saw in the presentation in the morning. Right? So there are multiple factors we believe which will drive this, and I'll talk a little bit about that, how that will happen. But biggest factor that is driving this is the growth of mobile internet users in the country, and we believe that that's going to be as 4G rollout starts becoming more and more real, and also more users get access to cheap smartphones. This is going to be a revolution that will happen. And how does this compare with actually rest of the markets in US and China? This number is less than 50%. So less than 50% of total internet size is with the e-commerce. But in India, we believe that because other sectors, which is whether it's social or search or other internet businesses, are largely driven by global companies, we believe that, or largely driven by global companies, and also because India's e-commerce is growing very, very fast, and I'll talk about that in the few slides, we believe that this is going to be, e-commerce is going to be a bigger percentage of overall Internet of India. This is also something that we believe in, and I talked about it in the morning for some of you who may have heard. At present, India's internet is growing, India's e-commerce is growing at about 100% year over year, and but in the next, but if you take the overall growth from 2013 to 2020, it is going to grow at about 60%, more than 60% year over year. And it is going to be the fastest growing, it is already the fastest growing market globally, but it's going to be, continue to be that way for the next 4 to 5 years. This is how we see growth of the market. We believe that in the last year, total e-tail of India was about $650 billion, and e-commerce was about $10 billion out of that. And that was still about 1.7% of the total market. We believe that even by 2020, that number is going to go to about 8.4% of the total market, and e-tail will cross $100 billion. So that's what we believe about e-tail. I think what we have to see is that this is and it will, the way we look at categories, and I'll talk about that in the next few slides. The categories, there are a few categories which are getting transformed significantly because of e-commerce, right? So if you look at, for example, categories like smartphones, we believe that somewhere, if you look at all smartphones sold in India, in the last few months, last 2-3 months, more than 35 to 40% of all smartphones sold in India would have been sold online today. Right? So that's the transformation that is happening in a few categories of products. And there are, again, different categories at different propensity. Of course, if you look at grocery, the e-commerce is pretty far behind. Right? The largest of the companies are a few $100 million, while the grocery market itself is more than $300 billion. Right? So we believe that there are categories which will move to e-commerce faster. I'll talk a little bit about the Flipkart journey. I was told that would be interesting for this audience because a lot of you are running your own businesses, and I'd like to share some of the stuff that we did in the early days and what was the thought process behind that. Again, today we see Flipkart as a big company which is getting recognized globally. We are the top 5 internet companies in the world, or top 5 private internet companies in the world right now. But it was, of course, didn't start that way. It started out as a very small operations. This is our, if you look at that packages on that bed over there, those are the packages of the 1st of January of 2008. That was the number of orders that we got, and we started in 2007, and of course, I mean, it took a long time to ramp up. For our first real order came after 15 days of launch, and this was the person whose photo is here who ordered that book, and it's an interesting story actually, because we had tied up with a distributor in Bangalore to supply books to us, and that distributor used to send us list of books that he will have in his inventory, and we actually believe that. I mean, if he's sending a list of books, and that's what he should have. We put this inventory on our website, and this person placed this order of this book, and when we went to that distributor again to pick up that item, he couldn't find it in his warehouse, and that was pretty eye-opening for us. That this is that very basic expectation that you have, whether people will have control over their own inventory, that is missing. And that happened with the first order, and then we had to scramble around. I remember it was a rainy day. Binny took his bike and went around multiple bookstores trying to look for that book, and we couldn't find it. We went to a second-hand store, found the book over there in Bangalore. Then from there itself, Binny called up the customer, this person on his phone, and asked, we don't have a new book, but are you okay with the second-hand book? We'll probably offer you like a 20% discount if you are okay with that. He said, fine, I just need this. I mean, I absolutely, I've been waiting for this for a year, and no matter what you have, just give it to me. Right, so few things that we learned, right? One, selection is a huge problem. Consumers don't get access to selection very easily. And second, of course, the distribution in India is pretty broken. That's when we started working closely with our distributors after that. So because we had a lot of time, we didn't get a lot of orders in the early days, we started spending a lot of time with our distributors, looking at their tech systems, what were they doing, why were they making so many mistakes, and improved some of them. And we got like 2 or 3 of them to a level where they could have like 99% accuracy for their inventory stock. And that's how we actually were able to provide reliability to our customers, because otherwise we would have not been very different from other bookstores, online bookstores at that time, which used to cancel 20-30% of the orders once they were placed. So those were the learnings. Selection, of course, came out as a huge need of the market. Consumers really were very specific about what they wanted, and they were willing to wait or willing to go willing to actually sometimes travel across cities to get access to that selection that was not available. So that was, like 2007 was just a learning of, huge year of learning for us. So going to 2008, we kind of started expanding our operations a little bit. We took up a small office in Bangalore. An interesting thing that we saw, we were talking to a few of our customers who were friends or friends of friends, and we were asking them what are the issues and challenges, and a lot of customers actually came back and said that there are lots of these international books that are not available with anyone. So we said, okay, what can we do about that? We went back to a drawing board and trying to understand what the problem was. We found out that there were distributors in US who could supply those books to us, and we started talking to them. We found that there were when we started talking, of course, our volumes were pretty low. They wouldn't ship 2 or 3 books at a time on a daily basis. That's what our volumes were at that time. So, but finally we got them to agree at like the worst possible terms that they can give to anyone, and we were willing to work with that even at an advance payment and stuff, right? So we convinced them. We were able to, but when we launched it was the first time we saw this. Till that time, there was this, we were like growing really, really slowly. After we launched that, we saw a huge growth in our orders. And the learning from that was that listen to your customers, talk to them, understand them, engage with them all the time. And that is what we learned with that incident, that your customers most probably, actually your customers will tell you all the areas where they need something that, and if you are able to provide it to them, they will reward you, right? I think that was the big learning, where constantly engaging the customers was something that we learned during that time. We also launched 24/7 customer support, and that also made a lot of difference in terms of the trust that the consumers put in us. So skipping over to 2010, we opened our offices in Mumbai and Delhi. We were able to start sourcing of products from across the country, not just in Bangalore. And we had about 150 people in our team. And the way we launched eCart is also, there is an interesting story behind that. I think, so after books, so when we started Flipkart in 2007, we had thought that after a year or so, we will launch the next category of products on Flipkart. But it took us 3 years to launch. So in 2010 is when we launched the first category after books. It was, but when we launched it, which was music, movies, and mobiles, we we, we launched it like, or we thought that it is the same as selling a book. I mean, somebody places an order on the website and you pack the product and then you ship it to them, and that's what it is. And it's the same thing for whether you're selling a mobile phone or a book or a DVD. But when we started doing that, we found out that there was actually a pretty large difference. Our supply chain was mostly dependent on third-party courier providers till that time. Actually, all of it was third-party courier providers, and it worked because those books are an item which consumers are slightly more okay to wait for a little while before you get them. And also, they are low-value items. The perceived risk is low as well, while on a smartphone, the perceived risk of a customer is pretty high. We also found that a lot of customers wanted to pay in cash and not just were not comfortable paying for a 10,000 rupees item online in advance. The other thing that we found was that there were a few smartphones, for instance, used to actually sometimes not work after you ship them. Books was generally, this was not a problem, and there were sometimes the books there will be manufacturing defects in the book, but that's about it, and that was very, very small percentage. We could just ship another book and that was fine. But in smartphones, actually, the problem was quite a bit. So putting all of this together, we came up with the thought of starting our own logistics. We said, why can't we do our own delivery and see how that goes? It seemed like a huge task, but we said, okay, the only way to know is to try it out. And we basically hired a few people in Bangalore in one pin code, and we started doing deliveries on our own. Within a month, we looked at the data coming from that pin code versus and compared it with the rest of the country. We found that the customer satisfaction rates were really, really high in that area. And also the repeat rates of the customers was very, very high as well. And at the same time, the cost of operations was lower in that area. And we were really encouraged by that initial result. And within 3 months, we rolled out e-cart as a service in 20 cities in India. And that was the second thing that actually led to a significant amount of growth for us. The third, of course, we launched card on delivery in 2011. That's something that is used by quite a few customers now. 30-day replacement policy was also launched in 2011. This is also going back to the trust of the consumers. Consumers are much more apprehensive when they shop online, and they need support from a replacement or a returns point of view. And we believe that this is a policy, coming up with 30-day replacement policy for consumers has made a big difference. Of course, over time, we extended it to other categories like fashion, where we allow 30-day returns and not just replacement. But we believe that has made a huge difference. And of course, we continue to launch categories of products. 2012 is when we launched fashion. Again, we thought a little bit, we were pretty confident. We said, okay, we have done books, we have done electronics. Of course, fashion can't be any different. I mean, it's the same thing. But what we found is that actually fashion is very, very different. And that was, again, something that we did not anticipate. A few things were fashion as a category, consumers. There are size and fit issues. The size L of one brand is not the same as size L of the other brand, and there are large standardization issues, or every brand looks at the product differently. Then the other challenge with fashion was that consumers expected returns. And when we launched that, we saw that the volume of returns coming in to the system was pretty large as compared to what we had seen with books or electronics or other categories. And our logistics network wasn't designed for that volume of returns. It was designed for a little volume of returns, and the hubs, the infrastructure, all of that didn't support that. So returns almost became like as big or returns went from being an insignificant part of the business to actually being a very significant portion as compared to the overall forward delivery. And that led to, that meant that we had to redesign our supply chain completely. So we changed our supply chain. We made it very easy for consumers to return the products, and then we were able to bring that product back quickly as well. And that led to significant cost savings, and which we were able to pass on to the consumers. In 2012, we also acquired letsbuy.com, which was the biggest competitor in electronics at that time, and we were able to consolidate our position in e-commerce, consumer electronics. 2013 was was in terms of the two big things that happened in 2013 was, one was huge scale. In that 1 year, we grew on a decently large base. We grew about 200 to 300% year over year, and we launched Marketplace, which we opened our platform for the first time for other sellers to come and sell with us. We also launched same-day delivery, and of course, there were category expansions that we continue to do. 2014 is when we acquired Myntra, and we became the biggest fashion destination in India, along with Myntra. And of course, we launched one-day delivery, scheduled delivery, Flipkart First, which is a subscription program. Of course, I'm sure most of you would have heard about the launches of Motorola, Xiaomi. A lot of those exclusive launches were, which really led to a completely change of the category itself, was something that we did. And we launched large appliances. And we also, and along with that, we of course continue to grow our marketplace business. We continue to grow our categories and the selection that we had. Last year, we had set up our ad platform. Still very early days, but that's something that we have done already. Now, this is the year we were scaling that up. We launched Ping, which is a chat application within our Flipkart app. And of course, image search and Flipkart Lite. Flipkart Lite is a browser-based application, very light, which works almost like an installed app. And of course, we had a lot of focus on mobile last year, and that is mainly because of the statistics that I showed you earlier. 80% of India is going to be only mobile, accessing internet through only mobile, and probably 90% plus of usage will be only mobile. So we really believe that moving first in that space has been beneficial to us. And of course, we tied up with Dabbawalas in Mumbai to do alternate delivery, and of course, Dabbawalas kind of people in other cities who could do alternate deliveries really brought down the cost of delivery for us. More warehouses, and of course, the Big Billion Days is something that is almost become like a household name as well. And that's something that I think 2014 was when we did it for the first time. Of course, some failures. 2015 is when we really, I think we executed much better, and consumers' satisfaction was pretty good over there. Another thing I think that I've get a lot of questions about is mobile. Why the focus on mobile? And I'll share some of the stats on how we are thinking about it. Today, about 63% of the total mobile commerce traffic, if you take the traffic of all the apps, all commerce apps in India, 63% of that comes to Flipkart and Myntra. And during Big Billion Day, we became the #1 app on the Play Store, even higher than WhatsApp and Facebook. And we were given the most popular app award of 2015 by App Annie. So and almost about 75% of our traffic comes from mobile. Actually, there are a few categories where more than 80% of traffic, or sometimes even 90% of traffic comes from mobile. And we believe that's the trend we are going to see increasingly going forward. If you look at our desktop traffic for the last 2 years, it's largely flat. Absolute traffic hasn't changed much. But all the growth, incremental growth, is coming from mobile in the last few years. So if you are either an internet company or an e-commerce company, or you want to use internet, it is about mobile. Yes, you may get some short-term boost because of focus on desktop, but that is not going to be the long-term picture. Of course, I mean, this is kind of like a kind of shows a 360 view of how we look at mobile. We spend a lot of time obsessing about mobile experience. It is not just about building an app. It is also about understanding user behavior, doing a lot of analytics on it. Platform scalability is a huge area where we spend a lot of time. User data, mining that, and using that to create better experiences for the customer is something that we focus on as well. And of course, targeted marketing capabilities that we provide to sellers and brands for advertising to our users is something that we do as well. So again, high-level picture on this slide is that we are doing multiple things. We are going really deep into this aspect of the business. Just to give you a sense of that, at Flipkart, we have about 1,500 engineers right now. If you look at desktop engineers, there are less than 15 engineers are working on desktop side of things. And the whole conversation internally is all about mobile. I'll also talk a little bit about marketplace, what we are doing over there, how that is growing, and what are the capabilities that we are building over there. So if you look at the value proposition of Flipkart for sellers coming on the marketplace, we have a large base of users, about 50 million users right now, and growing pretty fast. About 10 million visits on a daily basis. 17 warehouses where we ship products from, where we can store products. All of these warehouses are, of course, available for all sellers to come and keep their inventory and help scale with us. We have about 8 million shipments per month, about 10,000 pin codes where we ship to in India. And we do that pretty efficiently. From a seller's point of view, this is how we have been growing. Today we are at about 85,000 sellers. And the aim is for the team, an ambitious aim that we have taken is to take it to about 1 million sellers by 2020. And of course, this will require a lot of building of technology and automating a lot of processes and systems. We also are providing analytics and data to our sellers increasingly more and more so that they can take decisions on their side on what to sell, what price to sell at, what is the right amount of inventory to keep, and things like that. Of course, as I said, right, so we have a wide supply chain network. All of that becomes available to sellers. Deep consumer insights that sellers get access to, round-the-clock business. We open, of course, 24 hours. We have easy integration with ERPs. For large sellers, we do integration with ERPs. Catalog display and scalable virtual inventory, something that we do. The big categories on Flipkart, the two biggest ones are, of course, electronics and fashion categories. The biggest categories, these are the 8 top categories of Flipkart right now. And yeah, I think of course, I mean, as we grow further from here, there will be other categories like furniture and large appliances and stuff, which will also become more and more prominent. Just a glimpse of who our big partners are. Except Mr. Kishore Biani, everybody, almost everyone works with us. We are deeply integrated with these partners. We work closely with their teams to help them grow their business. So this is a video that where one of our partners from Madura Fashion and Lifestyle is talking about us, and I would like to show you that. So just to give you a sense of that, they launched only a few months ago in August, and already is one of the top 5 sellers in the menswear category. Here's what he has to say about us.
Madura Fashion Lifestyle has been the leader in the Indian apparel industry for more than 2 years.
Not getting the voice. Cool. So this is all from my side. I think if you look back at where we, if you look back at the journey of Flipkart, it has been about solving problems. We took a problem and we solved it, and then we took the next problem and then we solved it, and then we kept on solving problems one after the other, and that's what we'll continue to do. Thank you. We can open up for a few questions.
Mobile. Just wanted to understand if that also relates to the business, like that 75% of the business comes from mobile.
Yeah, I think the percentage of business and percentage of traffic is not very different. It's because also we are primarily mobile app driven, and mobile app conversions are pretty good as compared to mobile websites. So it's very similar.
Thank you.
Hi. Sachin, you started with books, and books is a decent margin category. And then immediately after that, you moved to mobiles and laptops and all, which is a very low margin category. So what is the strategy behind it? Is it the ticket size was higher, or you were looking at larger turnover?
I think mobile in terms of percentage, of course, I mean, looks smaller margin category, but I think it's been a pretty good, our partnerships, especially exclusive partnerships, have been pretty profitable for us. But I think it was, we believe that mobile in standalone itself is actually pretty profitable as well. Because the cost of operations as a percentage, so if you take a book, right, it's a 500 rupee book will take, if it takes 50 rupees, let's say, to ship from one city to another city, and you spend mobile cost of shipping a mobile is not very different. But of course, mobile phone costs more than 5,000 rupees. So the percentage wise, the shipping cost also is much smaller for a smartphone.
Hi. Just a quick question in terms of what is the split between, like, still there is a lot of investment going in. Can you just highlight in terms of, money spending being done on operational side or cash discounts and all that? So the trajectory of that cash burn, so to speak, or the losses currently and then going forward, how to get that U-turn?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of actually investments. Most of the investments are going into building the infrastructure. And that's what we see that, and because infrastructure building is a long lead item, we can't, warehouses, logistics, data centers, these are, I mean, for example, last year we spent about $100 million just in data centers. That's because we now store, we generate about a petabyte of data actually every month, which is a pretty large amount. And that's and storing that, processing that, all of those things take a long time as well. So we believe that those are so the infrastructure investments like these take a long time first to build. So you have to build 1 year, 2 year, 3 year ahead of time sometimes. And of course, they will get fully utilized as your business grows. So that is one of the big investment areas for us. Apart from that, of course, we see marketing as some bit of investment that we are doing from a brand building point of view. And then there is pricing. So, but it seems pricing is the most prominent one which people see and talk about, which is on a very small number of SKUs at the top, but rest of the stuff is pretty profitable from an operation. I didn't hear.
Can you please give us sort of a fair percentage in terms of, what was investment in terms of total infrastructure, and what is it going forward, going to go in, and the cash discount percentage?
I think investment-wise, we believe that if you look at data center investments and supply chain infrastructure investments, they will be significant. And there will be, if you look at next 3 to 5 years, of course, Binny had said that sometimes, but it's going to be at least $1 billion, if not more than that, just building out the infrastructure for us. And that's going to be the largest, as compared to anything else that we do, that's going to be the largest focus.
Hi Sachin, in your speech you highlighted about two challenges which I want to highlight on. One is about select categories performing well and select categories giving the company a lot of headache. One is fashion. As you said, fashion is all about very, very personal choices that people make, and you faced a lot of problems with regards to the supply chain there. So how exactly did you deal with that problem? Is it something that you have already overcome, or whether you are still dealing with that? That's challenge number one. And challenge number two you mentioned about is the supply chain itself. Where you saw that from a very insignificant level of returns, you saw a very significant amount of returns happening, which caused a lot of problems. So both these challenges, was it solved through acquisitions, or was there something else also which went behind it?
Yeah, I think of course, I mean, there are some categories where e-commerce will take more time as compared to others, and we believe it's only about prioritization and problem solving. For example, logistics network that we'll have to build for something like a grocery will be different from what works for a books or for smartphones, and it is only about prioritization. In which priority order are we going after those investments, right? So, from a returns point of view, I don't think that's we believe that returns are actually don't really cost a lot if you are efficient about it. Even if let's say there are about 20% returns in fashion, the cost of getting it back, because fashion is an item which can be resold, the cost is only the logistics cost that you have to pay, and that's something that is pretty small as compared to the overall value of the item. So, but it builds a lot of trust, and that trust can't be built either by just spending money on marketing or by just giving more discounts. That trust can be built only if through something like a replacement policy or a returns policy, and we believe that is part of the business model itself. Not just, we are not looking at like a burden or the cost itself. You have to make it part of the business model itself.
Hi. Sachin, my name is Aditya Vasti. I belong to this room. I've been on the retail side, and now I've forayed into, I'm a co-founder of a e-com company, and I'm working on a very exciting food project. So this question is specific to the third last slide, which talks about the categories that Flipkart has forayed into, and I'm very happy to see you here. So my question is specific to the specialty food space, which there are a lot of regional brands across different geographies which are still restricted, which are typical SMEs, right? So since you are from South, you would definitely relate to Karachi biscuit from Hyderabad and stuff. So as an entrepreneur, do you also see an opportunity in foraying into this space as a Flipkart?
I didn't hear some of you what you said. So what's the category that you're talking about?
So grocery was one of,
Yeah.
which is I think very FMCG kind of
Yeah.
food space, right? I'm talking specifically about a problem, since I think Flipkart is all about solving problems and coming up with solutions. So I'm talking about helping these small SMEs, which are restricted to small different geographies. So Agra ka Panchi ka Petha, Hyderabad Karachi biscuit, Indori namkeen, and a lot of other regional stuff. Do you see an opportunity as a Flipkart to also foray into that space and make it big and help these SMEs grow further?
Yes, I think I must say that we are a little on the non-perishable side of things. Of course, we have some play that we have made. On the perishable side of things, of course, I think our thought process is still very early from that point of view. And of course, I mean, I think we believe that partnering with local players is going to be the most important thing in that, right? I don't think the centralized warehousing model of shipping goods from one state to another state and those things probably may not be the best model for FMCG, especially at large scale. So something that I think, as I said, right, so that's a space which will require different supply chain thought process altogether, and that's something that we are still in the process of thinking about.
Hi Sachin, this is Ram from Landmark Group. I just want to understand, the secret of you and Benny in terms of entrepreneurship. We all get scared when we lose $30 million, $40 million, $50 million in a business. But you seem to be getting up and then thinking, afresh, and then looking at areas where you could grow your business, penetrate more, get bigger, right? Sometimes the, people on the other side don't know how, you as an entrepreneur think and start doing things which others cannot imagine. So I just want to know what keeps you driving like this and keeps looking ahead.
I think I'll go back to how we started in the first place. I think we saw a problem that needed to be solved, and we saw that it is a big problem, and we went after that, right? So, and that has been the kind of the thought process that has been driving us even today. We are excited about the impact that we have. And we not necessarily, actually, not many people know that. We don't really think about valuations, personal wealth. Actually, that's not even a conversation at all for us. It is more about the impact on the customers, impact on the sellers, and how much change that we have brought about in the environment around us. And that has been the exciting thing for us, actually. And that's something that keeps us going constantly. I think apart from that, we have I think one thing that I would say that we have done well as compared to or as better than what we had thought was that we were able to attract actually really good people, and we were able to get good people to come and work with us, and that's something that is very important for any business. I think ability to attract talent and ability to attract people has been the source of new ideas, has been the source of, because of course Binny and I just started out as a software engineer. We didn't know anything about the business, and it's only by doing things along with experts that we learned over time, and that's what has helped us also.
Hi Sachin. I would like to ask you about building customer experiences in terms of social. So say you have a chat space now where you could share and friends could interact with each other and buy a product. Are you looking at more initiatives such as that? So maybe say a like button or a news feed or something like that, like what my best promoters are doing, what the brands I prefer are doing, or something like that in that space, like going more social towards it?
Yeah. I don't know whether you have tried the Mintra app recently. It's a very social experience where of course all of those what you mentioned is there, and you can ask questions from friends about what to shop for. You can Flipkart, we are approaching it slightly differently, and on Myntra slightly more. In Myntra, it's more like a social experience where you can like products and you can create your profiles. You can talk, you can participate in polls. You can do Q&A. And on Flipkart, it's more a chat kind of experience that we're building, where you can shop with your friends. You can add your friends in a group and be able to shop together with them. So that's the kind of two approaches that we're taking on two platforms because of the whatever consumer research that we've seen that is pointing towards. But I think definitely social is the way forward. Consumers do expect that social features like basically like button or share or chat, these are expected, basic expectations now. Like search and browsing and stuff like that was at some point of time in the past.
Okay, we're completely out of time. This will be our
We'll run
last
out of
question,
time.
okay?
Yeah. Hi Sachin. This is Ayappan Swamy here. From a brand and marketing perspective, since there is a plethora of e-commerce companies right now in India, be it Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, ShopClue. So what would be your differentiation strategy? How unique you are positioned, vis-a-vis your competitors? Because right now, if you see from a consumer's point of view, the lowest price wins the click button, and that's where the traffic is going. So how would Flipkart differentiate from other e-commerce companies?
Yeah. I think few things that we're doing. One is our big source of differentiation is our understanding of our supply chain. For example, our logistics around fashion is pretty differentiated. That's our logistics around large electronics and home appliances is pretty differentiated as well. Going forward, our apps are actually pretty differentiated also. The responsiveness of the app, they work on 2G connections, and they are easier to browse from a consumer point of view. They're not like website. Our apps are not shrunk version of our websites. They are really built from scratch from a consumer experience point of view for the mobile app world. So those are the things that we're doing for differentiation. Of course, going forward, we're looking for more opportunities. For example, one big area that actually I believe no e-commerce company has yet solved is women shoppers. I don't think really there is anybody has really solved that, because women shoppers are more loyal. They buy more times. They also buy higher margin products, and that's an area there where actually no e-commerce company, including Flipkart, I would say, has really solved that problem, and that's something that we are also looking at. And I believe that is going to be a source of differentiation.
Hello. One last question, please.
Just one last question, please.
Sachin,
Okay.
This is Samit Bhatta from the Retail Jeweler magazine. I wanted to know, like a gold jewelry category, which is a high trust, high value category. How do you see it coming on Flipkart? And going forward, do we need a Myntra kind of an app, like for the gold jewelry, to do a gold jewelry festival, which is a very loved category by women across the country?
We are already working with sellers on that. I think we have a booth outside for any of you who want to be associated with us and want to know more about which categories and want to work with us, and we'll be happy to talk at the booth.
Sachin, one last question. This is Ankit Joshi here, and I'm an avid Flipkart user. And just want to ask one last thing. We are already in the digital age, and so do you think Internet of Things will be something new, something for next 5 years? Are you planning on something like that, on augmented reality, which will enhance the consumer shopping experience?
Yeah, I think the tech of AR and VR is pretty early right now, but we are looking at it. I think wearables is the next thing that we're looking at. How do we use watches and maybe other type of wearables that are coming on? How to use that for creating shopping experiences which are better. AR and VR, of course, is a space I believe will find. My prediction is that it will find an application in enterprise before it goes to consumer. The way computers first came to enterprise and then became a consumer product. But we are watching that space. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And let's put our hands together for Mr. Sachin Bansal for that outstanding sharing of the Flipkart story and e-commerce in India. May I request Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan, CEO of RA Retail Association of India, could I present a small token of appreciation and gratitude to Mr. Sachin Bansal.